So I told you I've been playing Battlefront 2 on my computer, right?
Yes.
Like, not the new one, the one from 2005.
Yeah, it's the good one.
The good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I downloaded some mods for it.
Okay.
So now I have all the maps from Battlefront 1
Nice.
and like 20 more hero characters. So I can play as like Qui-Gon Jinn, Lando Calrissian. It's amazing.
That's great.
And that's all I've been doing.
That's all they need to do. Instead of trying to EA going into this entirely like multiplayer only like format
Yeah.
with the Battlefront game, that's what they should have done. They should have just re-released Battlefront 2 with all of the maps from Battlefield 1 with all of the new expanded characters. That's all they had to do.
Yeah, make some new maps. Same
They
format.
wouldn't even have to touch the gameplay like programming at all.
Yeah. Well, they almost made Battlefront 3 back in the day, but it got canceled. But now there's this group of people who are recreating it. They remade it. And it's going to be called, what was it? Galaxy in Turmoil.
There we go.
And they're releasing it for free on Steam when it's done. So it doesn't have any Star Wars connections, but it's still the same
format.
Same format.
Yeah.
So I cannot wait for that game.
Oh, that's going to be amazing. So instead of lightsabers, they'll be called laser swords.
Pretty much, yeah. But yeah, we're not here to talk about Star Wars Battlefront today. We're here to talk about movies. Hi, I'm Alan.
And I'm Ryan.
And this is You Have to Watch This podcast. That was a weird intro. We've never done an intro like that before. We flipped it around.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, so today we are going back to our format of you've never seen this movie, so you're going to watch it, and we're going to talk about it. So this week it was I had never seen it, the new version of it.
The new version. Because
and
you've seen
and the old version of it.
Okay.
I am not as well versed in it as you are. So months ago, we were going to do a Tim Curry themed month, and I think we mentioned that in one episode that came out in like September.
Yeah,
and then it just never happened.
It never happened.
So I ended up watching. I borrowed it from you both times. Like, you have the original miniseries,
Yeah.
and you just got the new Blu-ray.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? Let's just knock it out because it was one of your favorite movies of last year.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So here we are. We're going to talk about it. I just watched it last night, so
It's fresh in your memory.
it's fresh in my memory.
And I've seen it 5 times since it released on Blu-ray.
Really?
6 times. No, okay, no, more like 3. 4 times if you count when we bought the digital version on Amazon
That counts,
before prior to the DVD coming out.
Yeah.
So we have technically 3 copies of it. We have the Amazon digital, and then we have the Blu-ray, and of course the Blu-ray came with the DVD.
And a digital.
And digital. So technically 4, but I don't do the digital from these things.
Oh, really? What do you do with them? I
never claim the code on it.
Well,
It's too much work.
If you don't want to do it, I'll take them off your hands. I bought a few DVDs, or I got a few DVDs for Christmas, so I went through and I had a stockpile of those little slips, and
Yeah.
I redeemed like 10 movies at once. And there's an app where you can combine all your libraries. So everything I had from iTunes that I bought years ago, everything I had on the Walmart one,
The Voodoo or whatever.
Yeah, Voodoo. I was able to combine them all. Say, this is great.
There you
and
go.
all but one, I think, combined with it. So,
Okay.
and it gave me like 4 free movies. So I got Big Hero 6.
That's a good one. I like that movie.
The new Ghostbusters, the Lego Movie, and Jason Bourne for free.
There you go.
I'm like,
I'd watch.
I already own
those.
one of those, and the 2 animated ones I'm okay with. Like, if you're
Yeah.
gonna give me animated movies, make it those 2.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen Big Hero 6. We should probably add that to the list.
Oh, it's a good one.
But yeah, so we're not talking about those today. We're talking about it.
Yes.
I enjoyed it. I don't know if I enjoyed it as much as you did. But do you want to talk about it a little bit before we get too into it?
I mean, I really want to know what you thought first.
I thought it was more of a typical horror movie today than I expected it to be. A lot of jump scares.
Yeah.
I liked Pennywise.
Yeah.
I don't think they overused him. If anything, I think they underused him for it being it.
There's a reason for that, though.
Yeah.
But I'll get into that later.
And I liked all the kids.
Yeah.
and later on we'll get into comparing it to the original in case anyone hasn't seen the original, because talking about that we'll get into spoilers for the sequel. So I liked all the kids. They changed some things from the story I saw, which a lot of their changes I'm okay with. Because they were my least favorite parts of the original. But I really enjoyed it. It was creepy, but it wasn't like super scary. it was more suspenseful than anything. And those jump scares don't really get me when I'm watching it at home on my TV with my wife. But it was a little creepy, but it wasn't like super scary. It was more suspenseful with the music and not knowing, like the way that it was shot and presented to you was creepy. And I enjoyed that.
I would agree on a lot of the points you made. My thing with this and my obsession with it is that my wife is reading the book right now.
Okay.
I haven't. But I know enough of the book to be able to kind of judge the movie based on what Stephen King's actual work was. The way that they shot this movie, because it's 2 parts, was good. It was the right thing to do. Instead of having, and this doesn't get into spoilers, but with the original film, the TV miniseries, you went from adult to kid, adult to kid, adult to kid. You were introduced to to what they eventually turned into as adults. And then whenever they got that call, they were brought back to like when they were fighting it during that summer. And what I like about the movie series is that they had the time to actually do that and for it to actually make sense. And with the way movies are shot nowadays, the way that they did this one, where it was the kids and then eventually the second one's going to be them as adults, was the right thing to do, plus the timing of it with the era that they put it in, having to be the late 80s. Because the audience was perfect for it, because that's exactly, like, you got the average age of the person watching this movie. They were going to be in their preteens, or they were going through their preteens or in their teens during that same time.
Just enough nostalgia to get them right where the Stranger Things effect.
And the casting they did for it, they did a perfect job. I loved all the kids in it. The actor they picked for it, that was my biggest concern.
Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah, because Tim Curry to me puts like a certain level on things. And it's not that he did better; it's just he made it into his own thing. So it's kind of like taking Jack Nicholson's Joker versus Heath Ledger's Joker. It's not one of them is better than the other.
You know the similarity between the 4 is, though?
Different ones.
All clowns.
Exactly. But
did you when you went for that comparison? Did you mean for the clown thing?
Not really, but I just went there. It does. So you've got the Joker and from Batman, and you have Heath Ledger and Jack Nicholson. Both of them were playing Jokers from different eras, and they were playing Jokers that fit that time. That's what I like about what they did with it this time.
And 2 completely different venues.
Exactly.
Like Tim Burton's Batman is more, I don't want to say kid-friendly, but it's in this cartoonish world, whereas The Dark Knight is real-world terrorism, darker chaos. But for it, you have Tim Curry on the made-for-television miniseries. So you can't really get away with much. And then for the film that came out last year, it's hard R. Here's Finn Wolfhard saying "fuck" like 20 times. I really appreciate that they went for the R and they didn't. We're not going to do PG-13. We're just going to make this R.
And that's the only way that they could have made this movie correctly was the way that they did it. Everything from the music to just the camera work in it to the sets to even the side characters, like Will's mom.
Yeah.
was perfect. Like being the overbearing, overprotective mother.
And the
then,
sweatsuit, yeah.
Exactly. Like that was absolutely perfect. And then you even have the father of the father of the girl. Like he definitely played that part
Yeah.
perfectly. So it's just everything. There's really nothing bad I can say about this movie. I've seen it so much, and it's just, to me, it's suspense horror. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Every element in it was great. They didn't overdo anything. They didn't overshow anything. They waited at the they didn't wait too long to reveal anything, and they didn't reveal something too soon. To me, anyway. Because, I mean, granted, the thing with Pennywise and the drain, that's standard. Like
The Georgie scene?
The Georgie scene. Like, everybody knows that. That's not like some hidden thing.
That's like the... that was their marketing campaign.
Exactly.
But he didn't say it in that scene.
Yeah.
Like, in the Tim Curry version, it's... And down here, you'll float too.
Yeah.
And then Georgie dies. But in this one, he doesn't say it there.
No.
He says it later on, and it's like, okay, that doesn't make much sense anymore. Like, he's talking about balloons and they float, and then everywhere else is like, oh yeah, we all float down here. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? And then what I really liked was that they had all the bodies floating. I was like, oh hey, it paid off.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
So that, and listen, those scenes were the ones that they waited at the right time to show. Like, it's stuff like that. Like, they didn't put like a clip of like one of the kids sleeping and having a nightmare and having a vision of dead kids floating.
Yeah.
Like, like just floating around.
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy they didn't do that.
You figure out what's going on at the same time as the kids.
Yeah.
Like, I think this movie works more as almost like a Goonies-esque adventure, because it's them trying to figure out what's going on and solving this puzzle. Like, because the one kid has like the history books on Derry.
Yeah.
What's his name? I don't want to say what I'm going to say.
Just go with Haystack.
Haystack. Okay.
That's his nickname in the book.
Okay. So you got Haystack, who knows like the history of the town and is looking into these disappearances, and then he fills everyone else in, and everyone at one point they all just stop and share their stories, like it's a support group. Like, oh yeah, we were haunted by this clown. My chair keeps squeaking, and I'm trying to get it to stop. This didn't break on me yet.
That's true.
So it's more of like them trying to figure out this puzzle for most of the movie, instead of, oh yeah, we're just gonna haunt the shit out of these kids. Like, it's little different snippets of hauntings, and then they all team up at the end. And
yeah, and it's just the way that they went about doing all of that, like having them work together, and then you have them getting mad at each other, and then they kind of separate, and then they have the whole 80s montage of what's going on with all of them during that time period. But like, just to give you an idea, like my obsession with this movie and why I say how much that I like it, and I'll give an example. And almost any scene I could break down like this, but I'm going to just do this one.
Okay, go for it.
So Eddie, Bill, and Stanley. Bill's the one that stutters.
Yeah.
He's the one that has the mom that I said his name was Will before. That's from Stranger Things, but anyway. Eddie and then Stanley. Stanley's the kid that's father is the runs the synagogue.
Yeah.
And then you have Eddie. They're in the pharmacy or the drugstore.
Oh, yeah.
Getting supplies
to help Ben.
To help Ben. They're getting supplies to help Ben because he was attacked by the bully. So they're in the drugstore, and they're trying to find stuff to help this kid out because he was attacked by the bullies from the school. And they're in there, and Beverly's in there at the same time getting like pads or tampons or something, and she sees her bully, whose father runs the pharmacy, So she comes out, turns the corner, sees them, they see her, and it's just the interaction. She puts the box behind her back as soon as she realizes who they are, and it makes that tap on her lower back. And then Eddie's there and sees her, and he's startled. So he drops the roll of tape, and it hits the floor like 1 second after she taps her back.
Yeah.
And then they have that interaction of, what are you doing here? I don't know. Why are you here? Oh, nothing. Why are you here? And then Eddie just looks over at her and goes, we found some kid in the alley. I think he's dying. And he gets a little shifty-eyed.
Yeah.
And then even the creepiness of it, like, of later on in that scene, she flirts, quote unquote, with the pharmacist.
Mm-hmm.
And like tries on his glasses, and because she mentions how he looks like Clark Kent with the glasses on, and then she tries them on. And this harpens back to, like, he made those books to be uncomfortable in every aspect. And there's certain things that people complain about, and especially the It book, that he did simply just to make you feel uncomfortable reading, that had nothing to do with the clown. It had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
I feel like that scene was kind of like the movie's version of that, of here's this 12-year-old girl, 13-year-old girl, knowing that she can distract like a 40-year-old man by flirting with him, and he goes along with it. Like, that's uncomfortable.
It is.
So that entire scene of them in the pharmacy is just the way that it's hard for me to explain it, but just the way that it's shot, the way that it's done, to me is like exhibit A for the entire film. Like, even when the Evil and Mike, the homeschool kid, called him homeschool, he's delivering lamb to a butcher.
Yeah.
And it's when he first sees his first vision of the burnt hands coming out of the back door.
Yeah.
And there's it hanging from one of the meat hooks and then slides down behind like the bloody curtain. And he starts to taunt him, and his eyes start to glow red. And you're like, okay, well, why is his eyes glowing red? Well, could be one, because his parents died in a fire, which is where the hands come from.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when his eyes get the brightest, you start hearing the engine of the car that's screaming down the alley that has the bullies in it. And it almost runs him over. So little things like that. Like, I took the eyes as headlights because of that. Like, it was one of those things where it's like in his brain, he knew what was coming, but he was so scared of what he was seeing that it wasn't connecting. So it was kind of like a dream thing, you know, like they'll show somebody dreaming and you hear the alarm in the dream and then you finally wake up.
Yeah. I really thought when they're in the alley stitching him up right outside that door, I thought that's when homeschool was going to come in and like be introduced to the group, and he wasn't. And I was like, okay, whatever. We'll get to that eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they kept it pretty close to the original movie version of that, where he's being beat up by the bullies, and they all come in and save him.
Yeah.
Do we want to get into spoilers a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
so
pretty much, I can't really talk about anything else without
we're
going
gonna,
into the story.
We're going to get into spoilers for not only the 2017 It, but also the 1990 miniseries It. So if you've seen one but not the other, go watch the other and then come back and listen to us because we have thoughts. But yeah, so we're getting into spoilers now. All right. So one thing I liked a lot better in the film version compared to the miniseries is the way they handled the bullies.
Oh, yeah.
Because my only gripe, I have one gripe with it, and I'll get into that. But I liked how instead of having them see the deadlights and the main bully, you see the deadlights and then be like put in a insane asylum and blamed for all the murders, that he's just killed off. What I didn't like was, I don't know why they keep doing this thing where they try to justify why the bully is such a dickhead. Because Stranger Things did it, and they did it in this, with the dad being abusive to the bully. I'm like, okay, I get it, but it doesn't make me feel anything for him. Like, I still think he's a dick.
I think it has to do with more of a societal thing.
Yeah.
Where we're getting to the point now where everybody kind of just assumes that if you have a really bad kid, then the home life has to be, there's something wrong at home.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with having what they're doing, what they did with Stranger Things and what they did with this movie, I think it's more of a reflection of what people as older teens and younger adults saw during that time period. And so they're writing it in going, hey, look, yeah, we were conscious too during this time period. And a lot of what you people think of why people were the way they were, no, it's because we tried to hide this under the rug and we're going to show it.
I mean, part of me wishes, like, in Stranger Things, I didn't need that scene.
Yeah.
Of the dad being a dick to the Red Ranger. But in this one, it kind of made more sense because he does kill his dad, and you get that cool little Sesame Street shot with it or with Pennywise, and like, I really liked how they did like that. And then him killing his father and then just going off in his killing spree was nice.
They actually, as we're talking about that, there is a deleted scene. I'm not sure if you saw it.
I did not. I did not get a chance to look.
When you watch the scene where he kills his dad, he only gets a little blood on his face. And then when they show him in the basement of the well house, like, he's covered in blood. Like, covered in blood.
Yeah.
They cut a scene where he killed his other two friends.
Oh, did he?
You know how they pan up as the kids are going into the house the second time, and you see the blue Trans Am sitting there? Yeah, well, they cut a scene where the camera comes up, looks at the car, and then it focuses in on the car, and he's sitting there. And Belch and Victor, the Nimoy-looking kid, both their throats were gouged out.
Oh, wow. They should have left that in.
The reason...
Why do you cut that out?
The line he said was really stupid.
Oh, what was the line?
It was like lambs to the slaughter or something like that.
I mean, that makes sense because he knows where they're going to go when they show up.
That, but also you got Mike who kills sheep with the airsoft gun.
That's not an airsoft gun.
Well, the CO-powered bolt gun that he has. I mean, to me, like...
If he could kill sheep with a airsoft gun...
If you were to ever see the scene, it doesn't
click.
It didn't fit.
Yeah.
Like, I remember watching it going, like, seeing his, like, buddies with their necks gouged out. I'm like going, oh, that's cool. And then he gave his line because he's real, like, being, like, real psychotic.
Could have been
his
even
eyes,
cheesier.
You know, it's like his eyes are real big and he's, like, glaring his teeth and he says it. And I'm just like...
Could have been even cheesier, though. He could have just looked right into the camera and said, "This is it," and then just winked.
Yeah,
and then get out of the car.
Yeah,
and go
I know, but
everyone.
it didn't flow. Like, the line that he gave really didn't work.
Yeah,
to be honest, so I think that's why they cut it. But the only reason why I knew about that was the actor posted on Instagram when they were filming a picture of himself with the gouge in his neck, and it was like, oh, okay. So this is going to happen, and then I guess a lot of people realized that, you know, well, the movie ended. Where was him with this makeup on? And it was like, okay, well, there's got to be a deleted scene then, because he wouldn't have posted this from the set with a giant, like, with his neck carved out, and them not use it.
Yeah.
There's got to be a deleted scene, and so that explains why Henry is just like covered in blood, even though they only show a little bit of blood splatter from his dad on his face. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
What else spoilery did you want to get into? What were your favorite differences between this and the miniseries?
Well, the miniseries, I don't know if they're going to get this far with I don't know if they're going to do this, but I liked how it was actually a old school circus wagon that was buried underneath a bunch of crap with the kids floating around it, to opposed to just a little tiny gremlin door that looked like the home of a little voodoo king that lived under the ground, where it had like skulls lined up and candles and that. But there's that. I liked how they had Ben be the like historical nut, besides Mike. Be the historical nut about the town. But one of the things that's really interesting about Ben, though, if you watch the scene where he's in the library, when he's flipping through the pictures of Derry, of all of the different tragedies that happen, if you look behind, there's like the assistant librarian, and she's just standing there over his shoulder from across the room, just like staring at him with like a goofy grin on her face. And every time the camera pans back, she gets closer.
Oh, really?
And closer. And so it's one of those things where it's like,
Now, did you notice that watching this like 20 times, or did
my wife saw it the first time we saw the movie,
Okay.
and then she told me about it. So then the second time we got a chance to see it, I looked for it, and if you're focused on him during that scene of his facial reaction of looking at the pictures, you're gonna miss it. You have to be looking around in the background to actually see it. So there's that, but then there's another scene where he's. Well, when they're in the room and they're talking about all of the stuff that's like nailed up on the wall, the obsession that they have of him about the history of the town, to me, is like 5 times more than what it was for Mike in the original movie. I mean, in the original miniseries.
Yeah.
And then to kind of know where he's going to go as an adult, which for, kind of, we're into spoilers of this already, he becomes like this world famous architect.
Yeah.
And to have him be the history buff and not Mike, to me, makes sense. So, I mean, I don't know. Just the way that the characters lined up for this new movie, I liked better than the old one. Not that I didn't like it in the old one. I just feel like it fits better with this one.
Yeah, I liked his character a lot. I liked Richie, like the Finn Wolfhard character.
Yeah.
I think I wish there was more of him. But every time they went to do something, it was like, oh, hey, you stay here and watch the bikes and keep a lookout.
Yeah.
I was like, why would you leave the one who's swearing all the time off to the side? Like, bring him in. Like, I want to see him, like...
Well, okay, you also have... Okay,
but
so that scene specifically, though,
yeah.
Would you really want him dealing with his mouth as they're walking into a bathroom covered in blood?
Well, it just sucks because I liked him so much. Because he's the one kid actor I knew.
Yeah.
From Stranger Things, and I wanted him to go and all. Like, I wanted to see him in these scenes, but he didn't see any of that until they're playing with the projector.
Yeah.
So like you have everyone else in this group having interactions with Pennywise.
Yeah.
And all these different things, and he's the last one to see anything, and then he's like, oh shit, like this is real, and so as much as it pains me that he wasn't in as much, but I really like the whole he doesn't see anything until the last second.
Well, because he's the best person to be like
the skeptic,
to be the skeptic because of how witty he is. Like, it's better for him to be the one like making fun of everybody else. Like what was it? Stanley. They're all talking about the different things that they see in front of the giant like. Lumberjack in the middle of town, and then Stanley goes, yeah, I've been seeing this woman, and then Richie goes over, is she hot? And he goes, no, she's not hot. Like it's things like that I was happy that he was one of the last ones. But did you catch the I guess the was it the tip of the hat or the thing for like to the older movie? Like, they were kind of doing, like, the words escape me right now.
Callback?
The type of thing. Because Richie, in the original one, his fear was werewolves.
Yeah.
So, in the original miniseries, like, it turned into, like, a teenage werewolf in the basement of the school. When he went to get, like, the mop to fix the food
and
that
then
he
Seth
spilled.
Green became a werewolf on Buffy.
But in this movie, they alluded to that when they're in the house and after Eddie falls through and they're all there before Beverly puts the like pike through through its head, a werewolf claw shoots out of its glove. As soon as I saw it, I was like, yes. Like it was all of these little things that is that they did.
Yeah, and one thing I will say, like the final confrontation with Pennywise, where he keeps switching back and forth between all the different fears, I thought was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And if I had only seen that part of the movie, if I had to pick a part that stuck out to me, it's that.
Yeah.
Because it was so well done. Like, he's confused. That he's either confused and he doesn't know who to scare more, or he's just like, okay, everything I've got. Okay.
He's in panic mode.
Werewolf.
Yeah.
Scary woman. Zombie. Like, it's just everything.
Yeah. What did you... one of the things that's key to the storyline when it comes to, like, just the characters bonding with each other, what did you think of the whole triangle thing between Bill, Ben, and Beverly?
I mean, I thought it worked. Honestly, I thought that worked better in the miniseries.
Okay.
Because I didn't really like Bill in this one.
Okay, which is interesting. Okay.
Yeah, like I always feel for Ben, I guess. Like, I want him to get the girl. Like, I liked him more than I liked Bill. Well, not that I didn't like Bill.
Yeah.
I liked Bill. It's like I liked Ben better. Like, he seemed... Because they both like New Kids on the Block, so...
Well, one of the things with that is that you're supposed to pull for Ben.
Yeah.
You're supposed to pull for him, and that's the point. But and in the mini series, for people that didn't care about spoilers and listening, Beverly and Ben wind up together anyway. Mm-hmm. It's just so that's why, like, it doesn't really the whole issue between.
Well, now
like,
you're getting into spoilers for chapter 2.
It's in the miniseries. If you watch the whole miniseries, you know what's going on. But anyway, they wind up together at the end anyway, so that whole thing doesn't really bother me as much. What I love is the being these kids, being how young they are, that they're just getting used to feeling for, getting these feelings, and then having them deal with these, like, first time life situations where she thinks it's Bill that wrote it. So she goes ahead and says part of the poem, and then he's like, well, I'm not into poetry. And she's like, oh. And you can just see, like, the embarrassment on her face, and she's just kind of, like, shifty-eyed. Yeah. Which, I mean, speaking of Beverly, I thought they picked... I mean, I obviously, as a viewer, have no idea what other actresses they were looking at for the part, but I feel like they picked a good actress to pay to play her. Just the way that she... But
when the movie starts, she looks like she's at least 3 years older than them.
Oh, she's only actually... She's...
Yeah, well, and then she cuts her hair, and then like, okay, now I see it. Like, with the long hair, she looks like she's a few years older than them.
To be honest, though, they're all almost the same age. They're all about maybe like a year and a half difference.
And girls develop faster, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, like, but it's like, but once she cut her hair, it's like, okay, now I see it more.
Yeah. When it came to Beverly and, like, just her character and what she was dealing with, and then having, like I said, that interaction in the bathroom when she was with Bill and saying that, and she had that one, like, embarrassing moment. You could tell, though, throughout the movie, like, the more stuff happened, the more comfortable she came with all of them. To the point where, like, I mean, Ben kissed her to wake her up.
Yeah.
And there's already that thing between them with the with the New Kids on the Block and them saying song names to each other the entire movie, which my wife had to tell me what they were, because after, legitly, like I said, my favorite scene of the film is when they're in the pharmacy and she's getting her pads or tampons and they're getting the first aid equipment, and it's the whole, like, tap of the box against her back, and then Eddie drops the roll of tape. I don't know what it is about the audio in that, but I can't help but laugh every time I see that scene. And then Eddie goes, we found a dead guy in the alley, and then he goes all, like, shifty-eyed. I'm like, oh, it's just perfect. But anyway, when she's out in the alley and she says, are you sure they have the right stuff to fix you up? And she winks. Like, she laughed, so other people laughed. So as soon as we got out of the movie, like, the very first thing I asked was, why did people laugh when she said that and she winked? And she looked at me and said, you really don't know? I was like, what? I was never a New Kids on the Block fan. How am I supposed to know?
I didn't pick up on that either.
And so...
until right now.
Yeah. And so she looked at me and she said, that's one of their songs. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And then she was telling me the other ones that they were saying, like, oh, okay, that totally makes sense then.
Oh,
But
Ryan.
just the way that her, I don't know if these kids are just that, if her and Ben and all these actors that play these characters, if they are just that good with being kids, or if it was one of those things where maybe 2 or 3 of them were just really good at acting, and then the rest of them they kind of like cast because their personalities already kind of lined up with the characters.
I think
You could have
it's
maybe
probably
a couple
that,
of them could have been like that, but I'm telling you right now, like I'm really hoping Eddie, the actor who played Eddie, and the actor who played Ben, I'm really hoping those two turn out to be really good actors because both of them did really good jobs in this. And the getting to Bill out of the 3 of them, the one thing that I do like about this Bill that I did not like about the other one, and I do have a speech impediment to a point. When it comes to faking a stutter, even though it wasn't the best I've seen, he did a good job.
Yeah.
Because in the miniseries, it's like it was too randomized to a point. Like it's situational. It has to do with certain syllables, and for some people, there is no rhyme or reason to it. But the way that Bill did it, like you could tell that it was almost like he was trying to pull a. This is going to be a weird analogy, but something I can think of. There are times when I'll try to talk, and it just won't come out, and it feels like I have to seriously use like my throat to pull a block from my stomach out of my mouth to talk. And your entire, like your neck, your jaw, your face, it all spazzes. And he did that, even for like the small little split-second parts. So I wonder if they actually had him working with a speech therapist.
I'm sure they
in
did.
reverse,
For something like this, I'm sure
because
they
he
did.
did a really good job on that one.
I'm sure they did something like that, but they probably had the money for it, whereas the miniseries didn't.
No. They had about they had about as much money to get the town, Tim Curry, and his makeup, and everything else was pretty much probably just pro bono.
You got John Ritter.
That was pro bono. That was pro.
More or less.
Yeah.
All right. So before we wrap this thing up, they were making a chapter 2.
Yeah, they're making chapter 2, which irritated me when I was in the theater, and it goes to like a chapter 2. And granted, I know that not everybody knows that it's a book. I know that not everybody knows that it goes from kid to adult. I understand that. But it irritated me because the theater was packed. And I overheard conversations before the movie started of people talking about the books. I'm like, oh, okay, we're going, first thing on a Sunday. These are all people that really just want to stay away from the crowds.
Yeah.
And there was a group of kids in there. Like some mother brought, their like her son and his 3
Scarring them
friends.
for life. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they must have been maybe 13, 14 years old. But the movie was over, and this guy, not one of the kids, not a teenager, not an old man who's going senile, a guy in his 40s, 30s, maybe late 20s, because it was still dark. He goes, oh, come on, chapter 2? There's 2 of them?
Yeah.
Like that like I seriously wanted to throw my large soda at the guy.
So anyway,
sorry.
For chapter 2, who do you want to see play the grown-up versions of these kids?
I honestly don't know. I honestly don't. I mean, it would be kind of cool to have the actors and actresses that played the kids in the miniseries to do it.
Oh, they're not going to do that.
But at the same time, I don't know if that would make sense with how they look.
Correct me if I'm
and
wrong.
Some of them aren't even alive anymore.
The only person who really has a career now from those kids is Seth Green, right? I'm asking my wife who's standing behind us watching the episode go down.
Yeah. Seth Green's the only one.
I would love to see Seth Green get a cameo. Like, I'd be okay with that.
That'd be cool.
Even if it's just like them watching Buffy and he's turning into a werewolf, I'd be okay with that.
One of the things that's odd though about that, again, you were talking about like that thing. If they do a cameo, I wonder if they're going to do anything for the fact that they pretty much killed Henry. I think. I mean, they didn't really show him dead, but they definitely showed him fall down a well and never heard him hit the ground. So I'm just going to assume that he's dead.
Yeah.
But in the miniseries, like he's alive in a mental institution.
Yeah.
And Patrick, the one who went into the sewer tunnel that had the I Heart Dairy balloon turnaround, which is another thing I want to go over because that's amazing too. But I know, yeah. He's. I loved how he died. First off, Patrick, the really tall, skinny kid, which he would have been great as Henry. But I think having him being as tall as he was compared to everybody else might have been a little too much out of place. And it's these things as to why I say I love this movie, because it's one of those things where it's like I could agree with almost everything that was done with it. Almost everything. Sorry.
Right, so you want to talk more about the tunnel scene? The balloon.
The balloon. Okay. In the book, the book opens up with the book takes place in the summer of like 88, 87, like the same summer that this movie takes place in.
For the adults or
for the adults. The book opens up in 88 or 89, 87 in Derry for during a town festival. 2 gay guys are on a bridge walking across. Both of them die, or one of them dies. And they find like the one's like body, but there's like a giant bite mark taken out of it. And in the explanation at the beginning, there is an extremely detailed description of a I Heart Dairy red balloon that it like turns and you see the I Heart Dairy. And to have that in the movie when Patrick died was just one of those things that like it makes my hair stand up, because it's one of those things where for some, like I said, I've never read the book myself, but I know enough about it that I can like put like 2 things together.
Yeah.
To have something like that in the movie, like even something that small in a scene that's really that important, was amazing. So that was my intro talking about that. Continue. I'm sorry.
No, I was just curious if you had any idea of who you wanted to see play the adults.
I honestly don't, and it's because they've done such a good job with these kids. I would honestly be okay if they just wanted to wait 27 years and just redo and do the second one with this cast. You know, just take all these actors, put them in bubbles. You know, like, you know, it's like,
well, if you put them in bubbles,
let them have their TV, let them have their exercise, you know, send them friends every now and then, let them have their 2 hours of exercise outside, you know, have them, you know, prepare for the roles for 27 years. There we go.
Because Warner Brothers is the studio that take their time with the franchise.
Exactly.
Justice League. I'm excited for part 2.
Yeah.
So this one takes place in 89.
89.
So 27 years would be last year. So last year. 2017.
Which I like, because no matter how they've done this, they've always lined it up with the audience. When he wrote the book,
actually, no, I guess it would be this year, 2018.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's going to be around this. Yeah. It would have been last year. But here's the thing. The book, for when it was written, all of the kids, it was like the 60s. It was like around that time. So then they were all 27 years later. It was like the mid 80s. And so for that time period when the book came out, that was perfect, because it grabbed onto everybody's, their kid's childhood and just murdered it. They did basically the same thing with this film. They took what the standard audience was going to be. They calculated the average age and then just made, these people, the average age, they were all in their preteens in the late 80s on average.
Yeah.
I mean, you could give and take some areas, but like and then you've got, so it's going to happen like 2017, 2018, in that year range. How is Pennywise going to react to like a more modern like society to a point with, like phones that can do anything and, like computers? And I'm really hoping that they don't fall down the rabbit hole of a lot of these modern like tech horrors where, like some girl dies and then infects the internet and then kills everybody that, made fun of her. Like, I don't know how many previews
that didn't accept her friend requests on Facebook. Yeah.
There's been like... I've seen previews for 6 different movies for the exact same premise.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping they don't go down that rabbit hole. That's the only thing I'm hoping that they don't do. Because if they do...
I think you can use that to a point. Like, have him use it to a point.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be too heavy on it.
Yeah.
Like, use it as a tool, not as a
like how they did with the TV in this movie. Every time somebody's watching TV, it's that woman and those kids.
Oh, is it?
And she's always talking about going down into the sewer throughout the entire movie. When they're going to go to the house for the first time, and Eddie is trying to leave the house, and his mom's like, "Oh, come over and give mommy a kiss or whatever."
Yeah.
What she's watching on TV, it's that woman and the kids on the stands,
Oh.
and they're talking about going down into the sewers to have a good time. And then when Henry goes in to kill his father's watching the same exact thing on TV, except she's egging him on. But even with Beverly, her father, watching TV, same woman talking about how it's fun to go down into the sewers. That's why I love this movie. Yeah. Yeah, like, it's like she's saying, like, come down into the sewers. It's fun. Like, she's saying stuff like that. So you have all these missing kids and all this other stuff going on. Like, it's just, it's great.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add?
I love this movie.
As you say, as you hug the DVD.
The
now what are you doing? The DVD? Put it down. Put it down. No, nah. Turn away. Yeah, I recommend it. I recommend it. Did not do that on purpose. Yes.
That doesn't make it.
Definitely, I think it could probably scare like somebody younger than me.
Well, I mean, there are some really creepy parts of this movie. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, granted, it's going to happen. Really scary, not scary at all. They go for the not scary door. Seriously?
Yeah.
Of course you're going to see
let's talk about
hanging by her arms with no legs.
What door would you have taken?
Oh, super scary.
Yeah, super scary. Nothing would have been there.
Nothing at all. Because because Pennywise wants fear. Like, he eats off of fear. He can smell it. He can sense it. So what he wants is either the jump scare of, like, her not being able to feel her legs and covering the fact that she's probably has, like, intestines hanging down, or it's going to be the fear of the anticipation of what's behind the really, really scary door, especially with the head of their best friend puking up, like, was it like molten hot bile out of his mouth, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
But oh yeah, no, not at that point. They
that's why we're in there figuring that out.
Well, actually, it was at that point that Bill figured it out, because that's when he was like, "Look, it's not real." Like with what was it? It was something when he realized it wasn't real, and then he got
the poster.
The poster, yeah, that one. So that that scene I liked for that reason, but just that entire sequence of, like, Pennywise coming out of the fridge and, like, going after Eddie. And I was watching the behind the scenes on this, and if you look, like, he's always drooling. Pennywise is always drooling. For some reason, that was a direction that was given from the director of the film.
Yeah.
And Eddie, the actor who played him, said during an interview for the making, he said, "I don't know what his obsession is with drool, but he wants him to drool all the time. So whenever, he's in our faces talking, we're getting spit on the entire time, and it's disgusting." Like,
probably because he's hungry. Like, the whole thing is he's trying to feed. So.
Exactly. But it's just,
if I didn't eat for 27 years, I'd be drooling too at the sight of food. Yeah.
But it's just that the whole thing in that house, we've seen the poster. They did another homage to Tim Curry when Richie goes into the clown room.
Is his it there?
It's a small one. It's a small one. It's right by the casket, and it's on the left-hand side of the screen. And it's Pennywise from the TV series.
Okay.
It's short than the other ones. But if you watch two of the clown heads follow him through the room. Nothing else moves except for those two clown heads. And then he sees the maggots and the doll. It's that part kind of, I'm like, it's a doll. It's supposed to be creepy. That's the one thing that just kind of threw me off a little bit. Like, it's a clown room, missing poster. You want to show that it's a casket and be creepy and show that he's dead, but it's like a ventriloquist doll. Am I pronouncing that right?
You had it right the first time.
Yeah.
Ventriloquist.
Yeah. So, like, that was one thing that kind of threw me off a little bit.
Okay.
For that one scene. But then finally the whole beep beep Richie thing happens when he pops up on the casket. I'm like, hey, that was perfect. Like that's, and then I don't think they did it throughout. I don't think they did it in the movie past that. But it was little things that they did.
Yeah.
For that.
I think the scariest part of this whole movie was Pennywise dancing.
See,
Kicking his legs out like that?
Before. I've heard that from.
No, that was not scary at all. I'm being
okay. No,
but
because
why?
I've had
Okay.
other people.
Is that how he was dancing in the 1900s?
I doubt it.
Then why is he dancing like that in 1989? Because that's something that's
my wife's least favorite part of the film. Because everything
where he's doing the Cotton Eye Joe like a jackass.
Yeah, like see, at the same time too, he's trying to be creepy. So I'm willing to bet that when he was at the Easter egg hunt when it blew up, because that was the one picture, like you saw his clown trailer in the back of the picture. I'm pretty sure that's not how he was, because if you look at his face, it's very like deadpan and plain, like almost dead. And I think it was more or less him trying to creep her out, not.
That's still such a weird dance.
Oh, it
to
is.
Do.
It really. I'm just really happy it didn't turn into like the Mad Hatter's dance from the recent Alice in Wonderland series.
Oh.
Where Johnny Depp did whatever
it.
dance with his legs like in torso spinning opposite of each other.
Anything Tim Burton's done in the last 10 years, I'm like, nope.
Yeah, pretty much.
If it has Johnny Depp, nope. Tim Burton and Johnny Depp used to make okay movies. Not so much anymore.
Not no more.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's to me it's the character. Like he's a goofy guy. Like Pennywise, not really a guy. It's goofy.
Yeah.
And one of the things I love the fact that it's a clown. It fits for me. What was your least favorite part of the film?
My least favorite part.
Because surprisingly enough, I do have one.
I can't really think of one.
Okay.
But go ahead.
At the very end, when they hold hands after they do the whole like blood pack thing.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
No, it wasn't that. It was when Stanley goes, "I'm going to go now. I hate you."
Yeah.
And then like the kids get
and knowing what happens to Stanley in part 2,
yeah,
I like the foreshadowing of that.
Yeah. Well, it's just.
But it's still kind of like, oh, come on.
Well, no, it's not that. I didn't take it as that. I got confused.
I did.
Because it was supposed to be like a joke or whatever, and a lot of people laughed in the theater, and I was trying to figure out what were they laughing at, and then finally the other characters kind of laughed with them, and then he cracked a smile like, oh, okay, he was joking. Normally I pick up on stuff like that. To me, that was just. For me, I guess just the timing on the sarcasm was off for the film. I just didn't. I didn't pick it up. But the whole blood pact thing. I mean, they did that in. They did that in the book, and they did that in the TV series.
But the time period. Yeah. It's the 80s. They should be worried about AIDS because it's the 80s. And I'm only saying this because she's not on microphone.
But, I mean, even as a kid, when I was it like 1991, 1992, or 1990, like, parents weren't around, and we still did...
You did a blood pack?
Well, not like that. Not like a giant gash down the center of the palm.
Did you do one, though?
Small
With
one.
Who?
I don't know. Some kid I don't even remember the name of anymore.
Well, then what was the point?
Exactly. We're kids.
I never did that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but no, I mean, like to me, I didn't like how Bill cut them all, because in the original one they all cut themselves.
Yeah,
like that to me fit better than Bill going around and slashing everybody's hand, which I also find funny that the only one that didn't flinch was Beverly. It's like, yeah, you're going to go through so much emotional trauma in your life. This doesn't even hurt now. This doesn't.
I liked how they all went their separate ways at the end, but you know that most of them are going to be in school in the next week together.
Yeah.
Like Beverly's moving. The one kid's homeschooled, so he's not.
Yeah.
But they're all going to be in the same town for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
But you had them all go their separate ways. And that sets up part 2 where they all have to come back together.
Exactly.
So,
Now, before we wrap up, there's
Yeah.
one thing that I found out during the making of it that I found really interesting.
okay.
The town they used for this movie was Bangor, Maine. Bangor, Maine.
Okay.
That's where the giant like lumberjack is. Like that thing actually exists. But the painting on the alley, when Ben is like bleeding from the
Yeah.
stomach, there was a gang that had a shootout back in the 30s and 20s in that town where like a bunch of people died. And in the storyline in all of Ben's research, they made like a fake version of that for Derry.
Yeah.
That mural that's on the wall, I don't know if it's meant to be there because that was there for the town, like talking about what actually happened. But because of the two parallels between what legitly happened in town and what happened in like the background of the fictional town of Derry, that mural could actually be on that alleyway. But like I said, I haven't researched it enough to actually find out.
I'll leave you with a little bit of trivia, too. So there is a TV series coming out called Castle Rock, which is based on a bunch of Stephen King writings.
Down at
Yeah.
Fraggle Rock?
Castle
Down at Fraggle Rock? I don't
Castle
care. It sounds like
Rock.
Fraggle to me.
And it's so the description on IMDb is based on the stories of Stephen King. The series will intertwine characters and themes from the fictional town of Castle Rock. And Bill Skarsgård is in this show. The guy who plays it. And supposedly he's playing a Shawshank prisoner. So there's a chance that this could be connected back to it, or that's just a really good Easter egg. But I'm interested to see what happens.
What's the timeline? Because
I don't know. It's going to be an anthology, so it's all
I was having
over.
this discussion with my wife the other night after we watched it for the third time. There is a scene that was cut out that wasn't in the deleted scenes where Skarsgård, dressed as it, eats a baby that was sacrificed to it. Mm-hmm. And the painting in the library that Ben looks at the second time you see him in there, he looks up, after they split up because they're mad at each other, he looks up and there's a painting of a woman with a baby over by a well. And the idea was that she sacrificed her kid to put the thing asleep. So it wouldn't come up and kill everybody else. So there's a picture of him with like no skin, as Pennywise with no skin at the bottom of a hole, and so but that was back with like 1600s, and the thing is, if he's in that, I don't think he's playing Pennywise, or maybe it just might be, hey, this is an actor that was in one of the movies.
Yeah.
Because Pennywise is so old.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if it's an
so
anthology.
it could be he could be the guy who goes off and becomes Pennywise, the clown who dies in the explosion.
But things were happening before that, though.
Yeah, but he could still be.
Oh, he could have taken the
what he's based
form
on,
of him. Yeah, that's right. Because before that, he wasn't. Yeah, he could have been a clown. Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm excited for the show.
Because there's a thing that makes me think that the body of Pennywise is not its thought of form, because when it shows its lights to Beverly, when its face opens up.
Yeah.
I always thought it was multiple screams. Like I always thought it was a bunch of kids screaming. The last two times I've watched it, it sounds like a older guy yelling, not a bunch of kids. It sounds like one man yelling help coming out of the throat. So I wonder if the demon or whatever the thing is has him prisoner inside his body, and as long as he's using his body as its main form, then he's always going to be trapped.
Could be.
So that was just something that
it'll be interesting to see how they explore the mythos of Pennywise and it in the sequel.
Oh, I can't wait. I just hope it's as good as this one.
It'll probably come out. I'm guessing that how well this one did is either going to come out next summer or they're just going to wait until Halloween again.
Yeah.
But they're going to. This one made so much money, they're just going to throw all the money at it. So you're going to probably get like Amy Adams to play Beverly because the actress looks just like her.
Yeah.
My wife keeps saying Bill Hader for Bill.
Because of what he is as an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like somebody funny.
Or no, it was not Bill. The
Oh, because Bill's
Finn
supposed
Wolfhard.
to be the Stephen King-esque type
Yeah.
character.
Yeah, the one that the Stranger Things did.
Yeah, Finn Wolfhard.
So
But
hopefully everything works out.
That's all I've got.
Yeah.
So if you haven't yet, go see it. I think
Go see it.
Next week we're going to be talking about Power Rangers, one of my favorite movies from last year.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't seen that yet, go see that. And if it has Ivan Ooze, you're seeing the wrong one, and I am sorry. But for you have to watch this podcast, I'm Alan,
And I'm Ryan.
and we'll see you next week.